Come make your legacy. The words of Pacific Championship Series. Welcome back as we head on to Game 2. But before we get into the action, we have to give a warm thank you to our sponsors, CTBC Bank, China Airlines, and Chonghua Telecom. Thank you for making the PCS what it is right now. So coming into this one, we have another blockbuster matchup, this time between Machi Esports and J-Team, two teams that are within the top 5 of the league, all former LMS teams, and two teams that have met each other in the playoffs over and over again. A lot of rivalries here, a lot of shared players, especially Mission being on both rosters. And this one is a very historied matchup that we're coming into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And not just that, this is also a matchup that we did see day number 1. This was also a matchup that kind of went the distance. It was very lengthy and very tension-filled, I feel. It was very slow, methodical. There was only 3 kills through 21 minutes in the game. We'll see if that trend stays true. Both of these teams do like to play slow, but of course we see Machi lineup right here. No big changes, of course. This is just the lineup, and the really impressive member in that previous game was Lee Kai on that Gwen. He was absolutely instrumental, and I feel like right now in this league, it's mostly about how do you want to deal with the Gwen? Are you going to ban it out, or do you have a pick to deal with it? I feel like so far, there's just no lane answers from these top laners to actually take into the Gwen.
Yeah, talking about that matchup, we did see Rest last time using the Gnar, but to limited effect. I'm not really sure Gnar is that great in the meta whatsoever. And Gwen still remains the number 1 win rate champion when you're considering champions that have over 10 picks already. So we're going to see how that one develops. But on the other side, No Slouch himself is the BM King, Rest in the top side. I really have him nominated as the best top laner so far this split. Tons of great solo action coming in. A lot of razor knife edge plays that we've seen where he dodges out of the 1v2. I was so impressed by his game playing performance yesterday. We'll see if he can continue to match up against Lee Kai, and that seems to be definitely the place to watch on the map.
Yeah, top lane will definitely be a big focus. Lane that shouldn't really be a focus is just going to be this bottom lane. Lil V, Woody, they've been mostly focused around picking that Ziggs pick, getting a safe lane, being able to scale up. And over on the flip side for Atlan, it's also been that same story. Getting Ezreal, getting Ziggs, making sure that the rest of the team can just fully ignore you for the first 20 minutes of the game until you get to that team fight phase where hopefully you throw in a couple of ult damage and help out the rest of the team, I guess.
Indeed, we are going to get the top lane matchup solo kills. So far, Lee Kai leading by 2, but in terms of the damage department, Rest by about 20% here. This is going to be very interesting as we head into it. They are some of our best laners as we look at the gold difference, plus 590 coming in for Rest. I believe that is the best for the top lane, though Doggo probably is still best overall, just to point that one out. Taking a look at the champion pools, Camille still a huge one, Gwen very frequently banned, and after that we have some flavor picks coming out from both ends, Set on the one side and the GP plus Gnar on Rest's end.
Yeah, of course, the Gnar is just a Rest staple. This is one of his favorite picks of just all time. He loves picking that up. It also seems to be his default answer into any new matchup up in the top side. If he ever needs a pick to fall back to, that's going to be it. He also has, of course, the GP, which I think is a lot more difficult to play in this meta because of just how much power is loaded up in the top lane that not only lane well, but also scale well, which is kind of the issue with GP, is that he can somewhat deal with some of these laners in lane, but when it comes to team fights, while he scales well with the ultimate, it can be a little bit more difficult to have those barrel chains set up when some of these team fights just happen so quickly.
definitely a slower champion that requires your entire team to be ready to utilize his kit. We are going to go into the drafting phase and some interesting developments already as we see the Syndra being taken away. We'll see what that champion in mid lane is going to be for Jimian, that he would ban the Syndra. Very interesting to see there. On the other hand, Silas and Viego, heavy targeting onto Gemini and Jimian coming out from JT.
Taking away the Silas pick. And also the Syndra, very, very interesting here, as while the Silas has been in meta, I don't really see him as a really top tier champion, at least not in that S tier. I think he's very strong for sure, but not quite that strong. And the first pick is going to be Lee Sin. Interesting, but because of the fact that both of these junglers do like to take this pick, it makes a lot of sense. You can still flex it into the solo lane, a lot less so these days, but it's still definitely possible, as it will be Leona to come out for first rotation on a J team. Not super sure about this pick, but again, both of these supports have a somewhat narrow champion pool, and this is probably their highest priority on that list.
Oh, the draft phase has got Gemini cracking up for some reason. I wonder what he finds so happy about this situation. We do have the Gwen lock-in, and as we were talking about, definitely seems to be the power pick of the patch. Machi do have a chance to respond to this one. I wonder if they're just going to throw out the set. That has been a very strong champion for them, and one that Lee Kai has in his pocket. We have seen him use it against, I believe, the Gwen matchup. And Machi, now we see why they banned the Syndra. They actually banned the Syndra just to play the LeBlanc. Very interesting that was the champion that they go for, considering that Lissandra's there, Ryze is there, but they seem fine with giving Mission those champions, take away the Syndra instead, and now J-Team have a chance to lock in their jungler of choice. Still could be a top laner in this situation. It looks like they're considering on just getting the Volibear, strong champion for Hana, one of his best, and there we go.
It's going to be a bit of flex potential with the Gwen Volibear duo there. Most likely, though, Hana getting that Volibear is just one of his flavor of champions, and also can go toe-to-toe against that Lee Sin if the Lee Sin gets into the hands of Gemini. Going into the second phase, we're going to see the Jace taken away. Jace is a pick that I do like into the Gwen. While it doesn't necessarily run away with the matchup in the 1v1, it does scale in a way that ignores Gwen to a degree. Being able to poke champions from far away and be able to contribute a lot to the team without having to really focus down the Gwen.
So we will have Jace down, and on the other hand, Machi continue to focus down Mission. Syndra's gone, now Lucian's gone. They don't want Jimian to be opposed here. In the past, we did have Mission coming out ahead of Jimian, but honestly, Jimian this split has been absolutely on fire. A whole string of MVPs being taken by him, so we'll see if that changes the matchup somewhat. Definitely coming into his own, this new rookie. Now Machi down to the final pick as we see Alistar being taken away from Koala, and it will be the Ryze. So it does feel like Machi is kind of cornering Mission onto Lissandra.
Yep.
See if J-Team bites here.
Yeah, and the Lissandra pick makes a lot of sense here just because it has that matchup into the LeBlanc. Azir, a little bit out of flavor when it comes to matchups, but Mission also, I believe, a legacy Azir player. Orianna will get hovered and does end up being the Orianna pick here. So a lot of wombo potential coming in from J-Team. Really much more focused around that one punch potential here, and a lot of lockdown in addition to the wombo. You have the Leona kit, you have the Volibear, then you have the Shockwave. So definitely a lot of team fight power coming in from J-Team. Not a lot of solo lane power outside of the Gwen though.
Yeah, that is a little bit of an issue, as we have Machi picking up counter picks again, getting the set into the Gwen. Definitely very favorable for the set. They also round out the comp with a bit more protection for the back line with the Braum. So incredibly strong lanes across the board coming in from Machi. Taking taking a look at J-Team, they should be answering with an AD here. A little bit too much AP on the comp already, so don't expect the Ziggs even while open. And they are going to go with the Lil V special. The Sivir being locked into this one. Lots of clear, lots of chase down potential, but not something we have seen in the PCS so far.
Sivir, definitely a pick that has fallen out for the most part because of a bit of low range, and if you want to do what Sivir can do, you can always just go onto a pick like Varus that offers a little bit more range and also a lockdown with his ultimate. But because of how much lockdown that they already have in their composition, they're more than willing to just try and help those engaged tools get to the fight with that Sivir speed up. So I think it makes a lot of sense here. And the big thing here for this J-Team composition is that this is really all about rest. This Gwen pick should be able to play 1-4 here because of how much wave clear is built into that J-Team comp.
Yeah, we do have the Orianna and the Sivir like you mentioned, but Gwen has to get through the set first, and early on, it's not a very favorable matchup. We'll see if Likai can actually hold his own in this lane, get some revenge for the prior matchups that we have seen. Now, in round 1, Machi did come over overcome J-Team. However, it was very much based on execution. The game was in a bit of a stalemate. J-Team looks like they were scaling up, but Machi were able to find the pick with the Lee Sin last time as well too. So we'll see if that's going to be the case coming into this one. Just before we get onto the Rift, again, I'm going to push you for a prediction because this is one of our highlight matchups of the day. Based on the draft, who do you think is going to get the W?
I think if Machi are able to get ahead here, they definitely have the ability to just really snowball out of control with the Lee Sin LeBlanc, the strongest 2v2 when it comes to mid jungle. Also a very strong matchup in that set into the Gwen. Yes, it doesn't overtake the Gwen in the end game, but you're going to offer so much to the squad given the fact that there is a Volibear and a Leona to chuck back into the J-Team squad. So I favored this Machi composition, but when it hits that 40-minute mark, because the last game did hit 40 minutes, J-Team will scale exceptionally well. So it's all about just stalling out the game, similar to what we saw in game 1, but I don't think that Machi will allow it to get it to that point.
I think both teams have found a very comfortable spot for them. J-Team, sit back and scale, just play defensive for the early game, while Machi, heavy execution, lots of wombo combo potential coming in, lots of crowd control, and just pretty easy pickings for Gemini. Both Sivir and the Orianna, without much mobility, can be easy targets for the insect to come in. We're going to be heading on to the Rift right away, and typically when we have a Braum, we could have some fishy business coming out. Let's see if we do have the... Oh, okay. Exactly like I predicted. Koala going to the top side already. Rest is going to stay in the inner try, and that could be trouble here. Likai already poking in, and Rest flashes him the emote. He does not see Koala, though. So it could still be dangerous, as we see Hana taking half of his HP already. And Machi do set themselves up for a potential vertical if they so choose.
It would be interesting to see if they go for some sort of vertical play. And even bigger thing to note is the fact that Hana did not channel his recall. He is going to stay, pop the potion, just kind of take that hit of damage here. And that could potentially force him to recall very early on. It also allows perhaps Gemini, if he gets the fortunate timing, to then really abuse this Volibear jungle if he goes from red to red. But it would force his hand a little bit, or at least try and force his knowledge of what Hana is going to do in this situation.
Yeah, we'll pay close attention to that one, see if Gemini can find an edge here. Despite a very tense early game, we didn't get much of that level 1. And now we have, everyone has it. The screen is just the best emo. All of our viewers of the PCS, if you want to get along with the trend, if you want to feel hip and cool, and you want to take it to your opponent, then you've got to get the screen. That's all I'm going to say about this one. Talking about the bot lane matchup, it's been a while since we've seen Sivir into Varus, but it has been one of those very old counter picks that has existed. It's just not been that popular because how risky Sivir is as a champion with how low her range actually is, but it can work out in your favor.
Yeah, and it does look like we're going to see more of the full crit build coming in from Lil V, which further just augments how strong their team fight will be at 25 minutes, but it also emphasizes the fact that they don't really have a ton of range here. So Atlan on this lethality Varus pick is going to be incredibly powerful in the mid game once he hits his 1 and 2 items.
Oh, we have the trade coming in. Koala with the stand behind me does block out a lot of damage, forcing Lil V to walk just a little bit too far forward. And despite the chip advantage being very heavily in J-Team's favor, they don't get the edge in the straight-up 2v2 trade. Meanwhile, Mission having a good time on this Orianna. I do like this pick. After the mage buffs to the itemization where they just get their items Mythic 200 gold cheaper, we have seen a lot more Oriannas. As Gemini now is going to go top, will pay Rest a visit. Let's see if he can get out of this one. The TP comes in, making it a 1v3. Rest gets tagged up by the Q1. Q2 goes in, doesn't find the kill just yet, but Jimian is here, and Rest is burning down. Finally, the first blood does go over Machi with a very strong start to the game. In the meantime, though, Hana trying to get something back. We have low targets on Atlan and Koala. It doesn't seem they can walk up to this wave. They are very much aware of the bearer's proximity, but they are going to respect him and keep themselves alive.
It's really just keeping track of what the Leona's intentions are in that moment. And the moment she starts backing off of the play, they know that the dive threat is pretty much gone. They're free to walk back up there and claim whatever little bit of XP is left coming into tower. And overall, that's going to be a win for Machi. Being able to get that first blood up in the top side, get that kill onto Gemini. Yes, it's a little unfortunate. It doesn't go into the hands of Jimian or Lee Kai, but they're going to be very happy with just continuing to apply pressure into, of course, this matchup of Gwen, where once she starts scaling, she just doesn't stop.
Yeah, she's such a ridiculous champion. Hard to agree with you on that one. I do want to point out that Rest actually brought Barrier. It's definitely a first for me watching Gwen get this one in. Even with the Barrier, though, wasn't able to survive the previous gank. In the meantime, J-Team still having a really fun time in this bottom lane. Lil V off to a great start with that extra turret plating going down. And Machi's bot duo is very low HP. They're definitely within flash and one combo range, but Gemini is coming in. He was spotted earlier, though. So JT is positioning themselves between Gemini and their actual lane, as Woody does find the first strike here, throws out the Zenith Blade, which connects, and they get a lot of damage onto the Lee Sin. Hana, I don't think was spotted. So they have a chance to just surprise, as Machi looks like they still want to potentially get the 3v2 in their mind going. Don't really find the Q1, and they're finally going to get a chance to back out.
Nice little play there coming in from J-Team, just trying to force the bait out, but unfortunately the side of Machi, they don't bite. And Gemini also takes a strange pathing. He walks away and then walks back in, seemingly like he doesn't see the Leona there. Maybe that was intentional. It doesn't feel like it was intentional, given the fact that he lost like 75% of his HP, but you never know.
Losing 75% of your HP, that sounds unintentional to me, at least from my perspective. Machi, though, they are going to rebound fairly alright. Gemini's still pretty low health, but he has the help of Koala, and they have the drop onto Hana. Never mind, Hana drops a ward down, turns around. Exhaust has to be used from Koala just to keep Gemini alive. Jimian going in. This has to be a really quick op, as J-Team have members streaming in from all sides of the ramp. Machi finally do back out. Gemini just going to take the scuttle away. That was a pretty airy situation for both teams, as it looks like the trap was about to close.
That was definitely a very coin flip situation right there. Both teams are fairly risk averse when it comes to these early skirmishes, so I understand why they end up backing off, but that was definitely one of those situations. If the situation goes wrong for either team, that could definitely just be the game for one of their junglers especially. And now it looks like J-Team, they're just going to go ahead, turn their attention to this dragon. They'll be able to get it, and that's a good start for them at 7.5 minutes in the game.
Atlan charging.
Oh, okay.
32 HP off.
Not bad. Not a bad attempt,
not
to
bad.
be fair. And if Machi were able to steal that one, that would have been... Whoo! That would have been 5 scream emotes right there.
Yeah, I totally believe that the entire squad of J-Team has the Scream emote already selected. Oh, our observers have just been pointing out so much CS being missed across the map. This game has been particularly bad for that. Rest does open up on Likai, has the extra summoner, and is fighting very close to his own tower, so Likai does pay him a bit of respect there as Rest is opening up with the needlework. Lands 2, can he find the 3? Does get it, but is going to be satisfied just with the flash. Doesn't really have any chase after that, so never mind. Couldn't do much after it, but still a great trade coming in a matchup that is supposed to be set favored.
Set favored for sure, but of course, once you get going onto that Gwen, once you get that first item completed, then you're able to really sustain yourself in the matchup, and then things slowly but surely become less and less fun for that set pick. Now they're going to turn their attention over the Rift Herald. This is an important take at 9 minutes into the game. There's no rotations coming in from supports here, which means that it should just be Machi getting this for really no cost. And okay,
we have the shockwave coming in onto Jimian just to force him out of the lane. Quite interesting move here by Mission. In the meantime, I do want to point out that Rest actually took away the red buff from Hana. Junglers really don't get much love on J-Team, and they are expected to sacrifice their hard-earned jungler camps and experience and gold and all of that. So, looks like Rest just wants to accelerate his lead in the top lane. Hana, you don't need this. I need it more.
Yeah, and especially with that red buff sustain, that makes this matchup even less favorable for Set at this point. And if those trades weren't looking great before, now you add that extra red buff true damage, just looks even worse. But it looks like they're going to try and find an opening to use this Rift Herald in the bottom lane. I don't know if that's going to be found though.
Yeah, we did have Atlan use his Chains of Corruption, and evidently he got a very good trade on Lil V. Gemini, just sensing blood in the water, is trying to follow up with a potential tower dive here. Lil V is within range to just get one shot by Gemini. Gemini is rather fed from his first blood as Woody tries to body block for him. Lil V still takes the abilities, but does get the spell shield out in time. So it's just going to be a one plate for now. And we do have Hana rotating in vision, though, as Machi do decide to back off, satisfied with the ultimate and the flash coming in from Lil V already. On the flip side, Atlan also expended his flash for that one.
Yeah, it was a flash for flash trade, as Lil V did have to flash away from the Varus ultimate here. Atlan being able to force out that summoner. Of course, he's going to have better times in these fights, being able to just have a little bit more range on his ultimate. But it does also look like Lil V is opting into the lethality build. So even though it is, of course, lethal tempo, which favors more of those crit builds, he is still going to go that same build with the lethality, similar to, of course, the Varus. So instead of arrows, it will be boomerangs.
Definitely still hurts a lot. You know, I think Silver really can do with both. Her damage numbers are just so high early on, so lethality definitely still makes sense, especially against Machi's team, where they don't really have that much tankiness on the squad. Likai going in for a big trade here, does get the face break stirred down.
This isn't it.
The haymaker, but Rest is still incredibly healthy at this point, and the TP has to be used. We have Jimian coming in, but he's a little bit late to save his top laner. Still goes down, and Rest is still doing a ton of damage. Will he be able to escape this one? Doesn't look like it, as a 2v1 does come out for Machi. However, a lot of extra resources are expended. Lil V now the target as he pops on the hunt and the spell shield, but he pops it a little bit too early, allows the kickback. We have the flash in for Koala with the slow, and they do find the kill, unfortunately, dropping the 300 gold bounty onto Koala. But Machi are still should be pretty pleased with that one. In the meantime, though, Misha just getting free reign on that tower, getting 2 plates for his troubles, as we still have action all across the board. Rest going in onto Jimian, but actually just wants to preserve his HP against a very flexible LeBlanc here. And the 2 teams staring across each other around this Drake. Seems to be neither side willing to give this one up completely. But Machi do have the numbers advantage here with their AD carry, and they are going to begin this one.
They've also pulled Lee Kai down to help contest, and they know that Rest doesn't have his teleport, and it still looks like J-Team are interested in trying to fight this one out. Both AD carries with plenty of resources to try and throw Poke down, but it does look like J-Team, they're going to be able to secure it. It's just a matter of can they get out.
2 ultimates missed on both sides, and yeah, they they realize that, okay, our opportunity has probably closed out. Machi likely going to be able to take down this tower, I would assume, but in comes Woody.
Yeah, looks like Woody's just going to go down. Okay. He has a flash, though, which is probably the bigger deal, to be fair, because it means that he doesn't have that summoner for the next fight if they try and go for a skirmish. And we're going to see a replay of this fight, Lee Kai against Rest. I mean, it's not even a fair fight. It's just Rest being able to dodge out on the sweet spot, and that's really the fight done. There's no other way for Lee Kai to win, and it's going to take Jimian coming in with the teleport to be able to finish off Rest. And once the second chain lands, like, Rest is just that. He doesn't have the flash, he used the barrier, and he's gone.
We're going to get a replay of Gemini with this play. I love the hesitation on the Sonic Wave. Times it perfectly. And gets the
everything was
kickback.
perfect.
Forces
everything
away
perfect
from Lil V.
except for the gold going into Koala's hands.
Koala says, trust me, I'll transfer this into more pink wards. Please do not feel too sad about that one. But as you said, kill distribution could have been better. Rest, meanwhile, in that top trade, I do want to point out that he had an extra level lead, plus he did have the extra summoner as well. Did use the barrier in that trade just to get the win there. And I don't feel like Lee Kai is feeling that comfortable about this one. Rest, starting his BM routine, you know, just getting warmed up. He's going to go for the Silas thumbs down first. See if Rust tries to punish him here, as Machi on the rest of the map does transfer over. He's taunting him so incredibly hard. Lee Kai, can you take this? Can you allow the man to do this to you?
Yes.
Well, it looks like
he has
he's
no
just gonna
choice.
put the front up and allow his team to take Herald.
Yeah, it will be his team
I
taking
like players
Herald.
that actually lose their cool. Pretty easy take.
You know,
Machi not really perturbed here by anything.
I mean, you never know. Lee Kai
please
might
go
have just
on. I
muted.
cut you out twice.
He might have just muted Rest's emotes, so you know that could have happened as well. So he just doesn't notice, which could also be why Rest has decided to spam dance. You know,
Oh,
you can't block everything.
wow! I didn't think of that. That's actually really good detective work. Well done.
Yeah. This is
Having
why we
multiple
get
ways to
paid the
BM
big
your opponent
bucks.
is so important in the league. True.
Now,
I
mean,
will
Rest-
say that
Mhm.
I feel like Rock is making a good run at the BM King title. Did you see the phone booth Buffalo emote spam? That was that was pretty spicy. Kind of like that. one.
That is true. Bringing up past history, always that's going the extra mile.
Yeah. Gotta love that. Can't wait until HK fight them again. But for the meantime, Machi do have a bit of a tactical lead here as the Herald is secured by Gemini. They already have the bot lane tower, and we are transitioning into more of a 1-3-1 setup here. Atlan is going to go for the serrated dirt, pretty normal build here, just going for extra lethality. And Woody might be stepping up here. We have a 3-man forming by Machi, but answered by a 3-man on J-Team as well. G-Man doing some zoning duty, making sure that Mission can't transition over to his mid lane tower. It seems like we're going to get a very hotly contested third Drake. So far, the 2 prior Drakes have already gone to J-Team, so the pressure is starting to mount here. And both teams just trying to clear as much as possible in the mid lane.
Pressure is certainly mounting here. But when it comes to mid lane priority, it honestly doesn't matter a whole lot just because of how much wave clear is on both sides. They will be able to pretty much instantly shove the wave back out, so it's going to remain neutral for the most part. It's really just about these side lanes. Are they able to get control of their wave states, to be able to get those shoving in, to have that extra man when it comes to contesting these dragons, to get that extra flank angles, and especially when you have compositions that have a Gwen and Set and a LeBlanc. These are champions that want to be able to operate on the side away from the rest of your team.
Gemini just opening up on Gwen already, trying to prevent him to take down the Herald.
Oh, that's Sivir.
Drop the charge down. Chains of Corruption does land onto Hana. Big. Hana has to use the Stormbringer to get out. Meanwhile, J-Team is completely sectioned off. 2 members into the river while the rest of the team has taken a different route. Rest goes back in. 1v3.
He's 1v3.
Not sure that's the move, but he does stay alive and is able to pop across the wall here. In terms of HP bars, a lot of low health members on both sides. And Atlan is completely ran out of mana. So,
but Gemini
like Machi,
split now.
Even though they did win the battle, are going to give up on the Drake position here as we have multiple TPs coming in. G-Man finally coming back. Woody is finally spotted, and Likai in the meantime with the showstopper. Doesn't get the kill necessarily. Lil V able to flash out and return back onto the kill. Great stun onto G-Man. He doesn't find his target, and Rest finds open season on Atlan. Also flashes the emote. That's Gemini down, Atlan down. J-Team run away with the team fight and the objective. G-Man starting to get closed up on by Rest, but Rest isn't going to be able to continue. He's going to decide to play a little dancer and just BM G-Man instead. Always entertaining to watch this player. Should be fairly easy secure. Looks like G-Man isn't going to pop himself in.
Yeah, and for the side of J-Team, they lost out on an initial fight, but they were able to get their recalls first, and with the teleports, able to get back into the fight with full resources available to them. We're going to see the second instance of the fight. Likai thought he had an opening, goes in, uses the showstopper on Mission, gets both of the carries clumped up here, but unfortunately only gets a facebreaker on one, and that's really just dooms the rest of the fight. G-Man tries to follow up on the engage, but really well played from Woody to be able to go ahead, stun him up. And now, with everyone being so split up, that really allows Rest to just go ham on the AD carry because everyone's attention is so split up.
Machi went in first, but we still have Koala on the sides using the ultimate. Gemini gets the kick, but not the target. Does find the Sonic Wave, though, and there goes Mission and Rest
here,
coming in to save the day. But again, Gemini goes in, tons of damage being dealt. Woody is going to be left behind as Stormbringer out the other way. Hana leaving that one for the escape, and Machi out of nowhere get a massive 3-man pick for nothing, heading towards the Baron. Just like that, Machi wrestle everything back into their favor. The gold lead and the objective control. Can Rest be the hero here?
Rest doesn't look like he is interested in being that hero. Even though he definitely could make a heroic attempt here because of course, the MR Shred coming in from Baron. Opts not to, knows that there's just way too many numbers over on the side of Machi, and this is a well-deserved Baron obtained. As Lil V, he gets a little bit too far forward. He's forced to pop the ultimate, and that's pretty much it. He doesn't have any escapes. Gemini finds a very good angle, kicks Mission away, hits the Q afterwards onto the AD carry, and that's the end of the fight. Rest gets back here, and he's trying to do as much damage as he can, and to be fair, it is a lot of damage, but because of the rest of his carries are gone, he doesn't have enough.
Ooh, I think that's the problem that we mentioned in the draft phase. It's very easy for Gemini to find his target on Lil V and Mission, and they still have a while before their flashes do come up, so we could still see a very one-sided team fight for Machi if they catch that opportunity. Now with the Baron buff, they are going to go for the split with Jimian. Gemini trying to keep everyone away, going into the jungle. Getting a cheeky smite down right before Lil V's eyes. The jungle belongs to me, Gemini says, and that means that Mission and Hana are in a little bit of an awkward position to be caught out on the top side. We do have LeBlanc getting the tower, and now Lil V pops on the hunt, chases forward, and J-Team not able to get much done here. We do have Mountain Soul coming up, so the terrain does make it quite favorable for Machi to retreat here. They just pop themselves back beyond the wall there, and Mission is getting unloaded on. Pops a shockwave to no avail, and in comes Gemini with the snipe down. Two-man game, too strong for Machi to close down out in the tower.
Rest is
on
here.
The flip side does get the flash from Atlan, dealing tons of damage, but can he
all by
survive
himself.
1v5? The answer is going to be no, as Gemini is going to chase on forward. He flashes backward onto Lil V, gets the kill for the team.
Are they too deep,
and Machi are just going to chase down the remnants of J-Team. Such an insane play from the assassin Lee Sin.
Gemini finds the play onto Mission, but they aren't going to be able to end the game here, as they'll just take the inhib. Of course, it is 24 minutes into the game, so it is pretty early. But that said, we get to see the replay of how this happened. It's really just the matchup between Orianna and LeBlanc. This never plays favorably for the Orianna, and while she does have teleport to play side lane, she's never in a position really to ever take that 1-3-1 matchup here. And Rest, he shows up, but he oversteps his bounds, gets showstoppered back into the team of Machi, and now Machi are off to the races.
Oh, Gemini also finds the second Sonic Wave into the backline. Man, these carries from J-Team just can't get away from Gemini. He's feeling it. His head
Mission's
is telling
dead again.
him he can go in. What?
Mission died.
What?
1v1 to Jimian again. So that just means they don't get to have a say around this next dragon. Machi stopped this soul from going over into the hands of J-Team. That means another 5 minutes where they can just dominate the map with their 6,000 gold lead.
How did that happen? We're going to cast the
We're about
replay
to find
once
out.
more.
Boom. And he's gone.
He even flashed for that. Mission isn't even alone. He had a ton of teammates right next to him, but no one had the crowd control to keep Jimmy locked up, and he's able to find another kill. Now 4-0 and 6 with the Magi's at 14. He's about to teach. Jimmy coming back again and nearly just takes down Hana with one burst. I think I've seen this horror movie before, but last time it was Maple on this type of LeBlanc performance.
Yeah, and this is why we see LeBlanc being such a big target in the pick and ban phase, especially when you are planning to play these control mages. You just don't get to ever play 1-3-1 against some more 1-3-1 focus. But now here's the fight.
It doesn't stun up anyone for long enough. Hana throws down a couple abilities, but Machi able to slink away with nothing really used there. They just have to pop the Glacial Fissure on the corridor, and that's it.
Yeah, and with how much lockdown is on J-Team, if they're the ones to pop it first, that's where the issue comes in, because Machi, they are so slippery. You have the Lee Sin, you have the LeBlanc, you have the Braum as well. These are all targets that are very difficult to pick off here, as long as they have a teammate around, and that will be Machi securing yet another tower for them. They've opened up with a 7,000 gold lead. Next Baron is coming up in a minute. That's what they're going to be setting up around. They plan to try and really choke the vision around this area, secure it, and use that to then hopefully propel a couple more inhibs to come down and perhaps end the game before this next dragon comes up.
I do want to ask you on the flip side, though, how can J-Team actually come back onto this one? Machi, for them, it seems like smooth sailing, very standard sort of finish. You mentioned it, the vision control, the bottom side, all of that. But what's in it for J-Team? How can J-Team kind of wrestle back some semblance of control here now that they're behind 7,000 gold?
The big thing will be to just try and stall out around this Baron, but you're not looking to flip the game right then and there. You need flash available on your Orianna to really be able to team fight here. And because you don't have flash on this champion, you really have to just play for the Mountain Dragon rather than the Baron buff. And the other big cooldown to keep note of is Lil V's flash and ultimate, because he's been forced to flash or ult prematurely in a lot of cases. That's really doomed the rest of the team fight.
Gemini lands a Sonic Wave again and is able to chase away J-Team. So Machi now with full control of the top side. They are missing one ward on Baron though. And we do have a top wave pushing in with double supers. It's going to force Rest to respond to it. And we do see Gemini now just starting on the Baron. J-Team are more than aware that this is happening because of that ward. It actually does not have vision. I'm sorry,
they got an idea though.
Confused me just a little bit.
They do have an idea of that it is going down, of course, because on spawn, that's just where their attention is going to be. And it's again about them playing for that next dragon.
Open up onto G-Mian, gets a perfect crowd control chain, but Koala is there to stop the damage. They do get the smite down onto Baron, chains of corruption over the wall, lands onto 4.
Mission has no flash, remember.
Is left in no man's land, just goes down to Gemini, kicks his teeth in, and they are on the hunt. Another Sonic Wave, Gemini just can't miss.
That's the game.
Woody walks the other way. And Gemini again with the Sonic Wave. How is this possible? His Lee Sin, that Q is not a skill shot. He's just hunting down J-Team across the map. Only Rest alive. 1v5 in this situation. Looks like Machi will get a clean sweep of J-Team as the Scream once again makes its appearance on top of the rest of the members. Rest doesn't get the Teemo thumbs up. He will survive back onto his Phantom, though he might have some wounded pride as Lee Guy does a good bait. Rest doesn't get into range. He's going in right now, but it's not fast enough to stop the next tower from coming down, and there goes the screen of the entire team. It's not just in-game, it's in real life too. J-Team, feel the burn.
Throwing out the IRL emotes here. G-Mian also doesn't have the cutout, but he definitely exemplifies it with his own face. And Machi, they end up with the 2-0 series sweep in the regular split over J-Team. That's a massive victory for them. Really gets them off to a good start. And second half of the second half looking good here. And I mean, that last fight, J-Team just didn't understand their win conditions. Their win conditions was to wait for the flash to come back up for the Orianna. Otherwise, they just cannot team fight, and especially around a mountain rift when there's just so much more terrain you have to try and navigate. It just becomes impossible to try and play these fights out.
Oh, that was disgusting to watch from G-Mian. Like, Mission wasn't going in alone. He wasn't even the first one in. He still gets dropped by that situation. I've got it to hand it to G-Mian. You know, at the start of the game, we asked the question, can G-Mian improve his standing to that beyond Mission? You know, Mission was clearly still the superior mid laner throughout most of the spring split. But this time around, I'm not so sure. I really feel like G-Mian has gotten to the point where he should deservedly get this MVP. And I might be taking G-Mian over Mission, who has been a long-standing piece of this region's history. I think it really has gotten to that point where G-Mian is just out of hand and playing out of his mind.
And you can also see that their game plan coming into this game for Machi was to just target Mission. Make sure he gets his champions taken away here and force him onto a mage pick, which never favors well against the LeBlanc pick. And it just comes down to, are you able to play these team fights out? And because of the summoner mismatch, they never had their flash timings up available to win these team fights. They always had to use them in skirmishes. It meant that they just couldn't win the late game team fights.
Yeah, that was such a quick turnaround as well. You know, J-Team actually looked like Gwen was on the precipice of getting out of hand. They just won a huge team fight that was, I think, a 3-for-0 in their favor. Then out of nowhere, a great G-Mian spell shield pop. Gemini flies in, cannot miss the entire game, just slaughters them in the mid lane. And we can actually pinpoint exactly when that started to happen, you know, around the 15-minute mark. Actually, maybe a little bit later, I would say, probably around the 20-minute mark. That's the spike that really got the ball rolling for Machi, and this is why I love Machi games. They play a lot of times, their success is based on their ability to execute. They have that level of mechanics in them that they can always pull out these surprising wins. In this series versus J-Team, both of their games, I actually felt like J-Team had a sizable lead in the mid game, but Machi, just with Gemini, just with G-Mian being on point, able to wrestle everything away time and time again.
Yeah, and for J-Team, you see that blip right around that 20-minute mark. That was the one team fight they were able to win, and the reason why was they had both flashes up on Lil V and Mission. So when the engage came in, they were able to get out of that engage, reset the fight with those summoner spells, and then be able to take the fight afterwards. However, from that point onward, they had to always burn the Sivir ult prematurely, or they had to burn flashes when it came to these skirmishes, and that's why the chart pretty much full blew after that 20-minute mark.
Yeah, if I had to criticize J-Team's game, but first off, let's take a look at the MVP. It is going to be Gemini, super well deserved. Just landing Sonic Wave after Sonic Wave, being able to be such a threat to the immobile backline of J-Team. We're taking a look at his stats overall. 429, 19% damage, which is pretty high for a jungler these days. And at the end, he did deal I think he had a 6,000 damage lead over Hana, and also a close to 3,000 gold lead at the end against his opposition.
And the gold lead didn't really matter a whole lot when it comes to just like Gemini in respects to that Volibear, but more importantly, it was just his use of skill shots that never seemed like skill shots. They always hit their mark, and because of that, always able to follow up with a fantastic Dragon's Rage and just create so much chaos in these team fights that both of these very immobile carries just couldn't ever play these team fights.
We honestly could give you a 1-minute highlight of all the plays that Gemini made this game, but unfortunately we don't have the time, as we're going to be going into a short break, and when we come back, Impunity versus Hong Kong Attitude on the Rift to see who can claim the title of the gatekeeper to the top of the league.